for folks who are huge and big into movies and culture and shows and whatnot, I mean, I know I'm personally a big fan of movies. I'm a bigger fan of shows, but I'm also a big fan of superhero media. Now, Marvel's kind of like turned me off of them with all of their, what they've been doing lately. I'm still watching them. Quantumania actually looks good from the trailers. But we're not here to talk about Marvel. We are here to talk about DC. James Gunn has been given the helm of DC Studios. James Gunn made a lot of announcements, and I could read them all verbose. But I think it might be a little bit more interesting if you just watch the video here that James Gunn actually made. He posted to his Twitter, and DC ended up posting that to their YouTube channel as well. He basically breaks down everything that's in the announcements. So let's check this out.
Hey everybody, I'm James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one of, our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure
Peter is Peter Safran, by the way.
The DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That the characters are consistent, played by
I completely forgot about the gaming piece. That's kind of interesting.
The same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that is...
So I like how he feels the need to add Teen Titans Go as an example of something that is officially outside of the DCU. Now, before this, no one had really been talking about whether or not this was inside of the DCU or not. But now we officially know that Teen Titans Go is not part of the DCU.
It is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DCU continuity.
Now, I had thought that Elseworlds was going to be its own universe. Elseworlds was going to be like a different universe that potentially would have the Batman and the Joker inside of it and have the potential for them crossing it over. But I guess Elseworlds means that it's standalone. It doesn't have to connect to any of the other Elseworlds properties.
Now, Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that
It's disconnected. I mean, I don't know if disconnected would be the way to say it. He's just not really interacted with a lot of the other characters, but he is firmly within the DC EU. Now, I think the terminology used is a little bit confusing here. Everything that is part of the original plan that deviated from Zack Snyder's vision for the Justice League, that's all the DC EU. So that includes like Wonder Woman, the second movie, that includes this Shazam movie, and includes the Flash movie.
I really love that resets the entire DC universe. And then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now this, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is an animated series.
I forgot that the first official DCU project is going to be animated. That's kind of interesting.
I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action. The next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story.
I've heard really good things about Doom Patrol. I've thought about checking it out eventually.
That's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it. Okay, next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it, and Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next thing
future.
is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who...
Now, this is cool. You don't see this very often. Hear what he says here.
And we have a few other lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show.
Terrestrial-based TV show. I think that's cool. More streaming, like DC aside, more streaming platforms need to make some like terrestrial content other than Netflix, because Netflix makes terrestrial content, but it's extremely like garbage, and you get half the episodes that you would get in a season of terrestrial television anyways. But it's nice to see someone trying to make a show that's in the spirit of terrestrial television.
Which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at superheroes. We're doing a
it sounds very interesting. The way that he described it in the video, like instantly I was like, this sounds incredibly cutthroat. So like they seem like they're going to be cutthroat, ruthless superheroes, which is not something you usually hear. So it sounds like it'll be a very interesting project. I feel like DC is probably going for more of like the boys audience than the Marvel audience. And I hope that's what they do, because, you know, I feel like the boys is more like, we don't really care about offending people. We're just going to make the best show that we can. And we're going to just find the people who like the show and pander to the people who like the show, not pander to everyone at large. So I hope that that's what James Gunn decides to do with the DCU. Because I just think in general, like Marvel has tried to, you know, appeal to as many people as possible, and it's just not working. You try to appeal to too many people, you appeal to no one. And The Boys appeals to a very specific audience, and because of that, the people who actually care and enjoy the content is greater than the amount of people who actually enjoyed the Marvel content now.
Television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but...
I am down. There have been so many times where I've been like, I want a show like Game of Thrones. I want to see a show like Game of Thrones, but it's got all these sex scenes in it. I can't watch that. And then every other competitor or something that has like a similar storytelling themes to it, like House of Cards was a big one. Also had some sex scenes early on in the series as well. So I've been like, man, there's like no good like power struggle show going on television right now. Paradise Lost sounds like it will be like a taste of that, and I think it's going to be TV-14. I think all of the announced projects are going to be TV-14/PG-13. I hope that's the case, because if so, I'm going to dive straight into that.
But with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island. The introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU. Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes.
Wait a second. I want to go back and check and see, because I didn't even notice that there was that bug that says whether or not something's live action or was animated. Okay, so it looks like if something is animated, it doesn't say that it's animated usually, but if it's live action, it'll say it's live action. So let's see here. So Creature Commandos is animated. Waller is live action. Let's see. Superman Legacy is animated. Lanterns is live action. The Authority is animated. Oh, I was thinking how cool it would be to see that in live action, but let's see here. And Paradise Lost is going to be live action. That's awesome. Very, very awesome. It's going to have a lot of that vibe I was looking for. The Brave and the Bold is going to be animated. Very, very interesting. Okay, let's get into the gold dude, or whatever his name is.
Bat family in the DCU. Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series.
It sounds like it's like that series sounds like it's probably gonna be the most popular one. It sounds like it's gonna be so much fun. And just like the cheesy photo, I feel like the audience is probably just going to eat that series up.
One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way. So she's a much more jaded character.
Wow.
And that brings me to...
So she's gonna be like a dark Supergirl who's just like very cynical and pessimistic, which we're not used to seeing from a super character.
Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about, a very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child.
I didn't catch that.
Right now.
Right now? So that means that there are probably going to be more stories down the line, potentially within chapter 1, but he doesn't want to like talk about those yet. This is interesting, and I like the pacing. I was reading the articles as the news broke, and they're going for like maybe 2 movies a year or so, which is, I think, is incredible pacing. And all these things that they've announced is going to take like 8 to 10 years to release. Marvel would have released all of this within like 9 months. It's crazy, but it's great because it means this kind of probably going to be pretty good. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this.
I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me, and I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much.
Very cool. The DCEU is easily going to trounce Marvel with this. It sounds like James Gunn cares a lot more about the story of DC, in my opinion. So I think that's interesting. One thing that he did not mention is that which series was it? That's like the first project in the new like DCU, Creature Commandos. Well, Creature Commandos is the first animated project, and Waller's going to be the first live action project. What he did not mention here is that there are a couple of things that have already come out that I think are probably a lock to already be in the DCU. I'm personally calling this chapter 0. So Waller is going to have it's going to be like a kind of a spin-off series of Peacemaker, but just having Waller as the main character. Peacemaker characters will be reprising their roles in Waller. So that means Peacemaker is canon. That also means that the Suicide Squad movie is canon. The second one that James Gunn made, well, the first DC movie that James Gunn made, but the second Suicide Squad movie that DC's made, it's a little bit confusing. So if you want to watch the whole thing in chronological order, I would say you can watch The Flash probably, or you can watch the Suicide Squad, and that's the start of the new DCU. So that's interesting. I think it's interesting that like we have this new universe that they're about to get kicked off, and we already have like 2 projects that are already firmly planted in it. So that's kind of dope.